But John Heilemann, the problem is we lost 777 points
it was
yesterday.
Kind of expensive.
What's going to happen over the next 3 days? Will we lose another $1.2 trillion a day until we get a better bill? Again, if they had passed the bill yesterday, and I hated the bill yesterday, make no mistake of it, but we lost $1.2 trillion in capital yesterday in the market alone.
That's a big number.
That's
more than the bailout.
Half
a big number.
$1 trillion more than the bailout. So what? Do we take the risk? What happens 3 days from now? How far further down do we go?
Well, I think, first of all, I'm with Dilligan Radigan, who knows a lot more about this than I do, and saying I have no idea what the mark's going to do over the next 3 days, and I don't think any of us do. I think that your question, Joe, do we take the risk? Well, we've now taken the risk. I mean, the risk is now, if we had, the choice yesterday was whether we should take the risk or not, and we, or at least our elected representatives, decided not to take that risk on our behalf, and now we're going to see what happens. And I don't know, but I'm kind of with Lawrence, though. I mean, there's the nice thing about the market is that, those losses, can be made up the next day. I mean, we could, it's not going to happen, right? But the stock market tomorrow could go up 800 points, and we'd be back to level again. We're not going to predict, but it could happen on Monday that the market rebounds and we gain all this back, in which case Lawrence's optimism might be vindicated.
Peggy Noonan, my conservative brethren, people who I'm most closely aligned with, say, like Lawrence, this is a good thing. Because guess what? The markets misbehaved. The markets were greedy. Let the markets be punished. And let's have a free market answer to this problem.
I think a number of the House conservatives who voted against the bill were thinking seriously and philosophically in that way. Some were not, but some really were. It seems to me, however, that we've got a certain split here between the philosophical academic and the real-world establishmentarian. I know how money flows in America sort of folks. And I'm not sure we all know how to find the right balance there between the philosophy and the practicality. The way I look at this whole thing is as a mother of a certain age, I guess. My feeling is always, you got a problem, it's a bad problem, it could hurt a lot of people, maybe this thing could do something to help. All right, do it. If that doesn't work, let's try something else. Do you know what I mean? I think you need a certain amount of creativity in this.
There's been a certain presumption in the discussion, especially from Aaron and the Wall Street people who talk about this, that the House votes against this were not principled votes, that they were votes of fear, of they're in shaky districts. The overwhelming majority of the Democrat and Republican no votes are in fantastically safe districts. Pete Stark voted against this. Now, Pete Stark has more money in the market than anyone in this building at the moment. As he's one of the richest people in Congress. Okay, he is in no danger on his reelection. He voted against it from a liberal perspective. That was not some vote of convenience. That was not some fear of his constituents. So you have a liberal perspective that votes against this. You have a conservative perspective that votes against this. And very, very, very few people in swing districts voted against it. You could eliminate all the swing district voters and still pass this thing easily if you found the legislative sweet spot, which they might on Friday or Saturday.
So it's an interesting question, though, right? I mean, because nobody wants to own this bill. I mean, that's part of the sweet spot's really hard to find, right? Because as you were saying before, Lawrence, I mean, and as a couple of the Democrats who've been on the show earlier said, you could pass a bill, easily put together a bill the Democrats would pass by an overwhelming majority, but Democrats don't want to own that bill because it's going to be overwhelmingly unpopular throughout because it's been described as a bailout.
Clyburn says put in the bankruptcy provisions. If you do that, you drive off Republicans. You get more Democrats in. The Democrats own the bill, and it's a 1993 Clinton budget all over again.
Right.
Where they're waving goodbye to members who vote for it. So that's not the answer either. They're going to have to roll up their sleeves and beat up 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats and meet in the middle.
But it does create an interesting question. I mean, I wonder whether now, I mean, we haven't talked about much of the politics of this, but you wonder whether there's an opportunity right now. Barack Obama's been very cautious about this, has stayed out, did not tie.
Been invisible,
did not get into this, did not wade in, did not take the risk that McCain took.
He monitored it.
You wonder now whether, if it's true that just a little push could get this thing over the line.
Neither one of the candidates have the power in the legislative arena. In the legislative arena, they're both completely ineffectual, even if they were trying to do their best.
So do you think that mean that Obama could not bring in 10 members or 8 members of the Black Caucus right now? himself bring those people on board?
It would require something we've never seen before, and it would be a dangerous thing for him to try to do. Right now, this story is working for him. And by the way, there's a notion here that if you pass this, the problem is solved. The truth of it is, if you pass this, the vast, gigantic obligation of it falls to someone we don't know, which is the next Secretary of the Treasury.
We've got to go to break.
These candidates have to tell us who their Secretary of the Treasury is.
We've got to go to break, and I agree with you. But if McCain can't get 5 Republicans and Obama can't get 5 Democrats from safe districts to make this pass, they don't have a whole lot of power or influence, do they?